Car buying can be one of the most stressful times in your life. Me selling cars for many, many years. I've been in the car business. I've worked for auctions. That's the actual factory auctions for Ford. I've also worked for Toyota, and I've worked for car dealerships, selling cars, fixing cars, and you name it. So I come from a place where I can truly, yes, support you. And on top of that, I've actually polled 125 people who shared some of their experiences in buying cars and the facts of 5 of the key things why people actually hate buying cars, why they hate dealing with dealerships, and why in fact it's one of the most stressful times. The first thing is deceptive advertising. I mean, some know that bait and switch is pretty much illegal, but they're still riding the line where they advertise they've got this product, you see it online, you see it on their website, or in some cases, the old newspaper. I mean, we used to see it in print as well. And then you go down and see the vehicle and they don't have it, or it was just sold. And that's the old bait and switch. But quite often, even if you do find that vehicle, and it might be advertised at a price, say $39,995, but it's all of this fine print, all of this plus this at OAC and, based on this financing, based on approval of this. There's all these factors they like to bury in the fine print. And the problem is whether it's factual or not. Legally, in most cases now, dealers are smart enough to know, and OEMs are smart enough to know that they can't do too many of these shady little maneuvers. But the problem is, a lot of buyers don't necessarily know that. And without digging deep into the fine print, a lot of people just feel that they're snookered. They're just given information that feels false. It doesn't feel like it's up close and absolutely truthful. Whether it is all there in fine print, it could in fact be. But most people that I've polled and talked to said they just hate that whole idea of, an advertised price and realizing that $39,995 ends up looking more like $43,000 or $45,000 by the time you're out the door. So that's why when I talk about these numbers, it's always good to pick up the phone, talk to a dealer, specifically talk to a salesperson, and don't even muss about. Say, look, I saw this red Ram truck online. It's it's this model. It's got this trim level. I noticed you've advertised at this. Always ask for out the door. You don't want extras. Just tell them basically straight up, how much is this vehicle actually going to cost me with all the taxes, fee, registration, as is out the door. I don't want to know about all this extra levies and fees and, PD, the delivery charges and all of those other factors. I don't care. What's the out of door price? It feels so shady, and most people that I've spoke to just feel like it's just not transparent. And a lot of people feel like the dealers and the OEMs are trying to pull a fast one. So that's one of the main things that causes a lot of stress, is just having to sift through all the noise and the false numbers and the fakes and trying to figure out for yourself how much it's truly going to cost you. Oh, and by the way, if you want some merch, Exotic Car Play is my other channel where I really dive into all the reliability challenges, good, bad, and ugly of the quality and reliability and durability of vehicles. Head on over there. I'll share the link down in the description. If you want some, fourth wall page, it'll take you right to it. You're definitely going to love it. So anyway, if you want your own hat, shirts, and so on. But the next one is being harassed when you get out of your vehicle. Have you ever never driven through a car lot and you're just browsing? Maybe it's a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon, and you're starting to get into the market thinking about some new cars. You might be thinking about this new SUV, or maybe you've got a few in mind. You and your spouse decide to spend a day, an afternoon of just driving around and more kicking tires, window shopping to start with. You read about it in the magazines, but you want to see them in flesh, right? So you get in your car and you go drive around. Quite often, a lot of what people are commenting is a lot of these dealers, and that's specific to that specific dealership. And I found personally some of the worst, I'll just call it out. But some of the worst dealers that I've personally seen are some of the Stellantis dealers. You go drive through a Dodge dealership and they are on you like crap, like white on rice. They're literally ready to jump on you as soon as you step 1 foot outside of your vehicle. And that's one of the other aspects of what a lot of people hate about car shopping, is just that intensity, that anxiety when you drive into a car lot just to look. You just want to step out of your vehicle, go look at the Monroney sticker or the window sticker and just see some of the details, or you want to peek inside the window and see what the interior looks like of this car. And no longer do you do that, and all of a sudden there's a salesperson right behind you. Now, I understand, like a lot of people, there are people that prefer to be catered on, and there's a lot of people that like to have that person, that salesperson available like that. But most people that I speak to would much rather go look for the salesperson when they're ready to shop, i.e. they're inside, you walk in, you decide you want to take something for a test drive or have a closer look. you know where they'll find them. They'll be inside the dealership, or they might be out just in front of the front doors. But the idea of having, a salesperson rush right out to you, you barely put your car in park and they're right in front of you. And it's that stress, that pressure that just puts people off. And quite frankly, that's one of the biggest pet peeves from a lot of car buyers, and why they hate buying their new car is just dealing with all of that extra anxiety. The third one is a lot of these games that are played. A lot of these dealers and salespeople that have been doing it for a while like to play games. Some will come out and say, hey, I'm not here to play any games. I just want to be right, be totally honest. And quite often, my personal experience, those that actually advertise that on the front end are usually those that usually have an agenda. So the games that a lot of people don't like to play. The salesperson will ask you, hey, what kind of car are you interested in? What are you thinking? Looking for an SUV, a car, a truck? What's your thoughts? And then as soon as you say whatever it is, say you go into a dealership and you say, hey, here's a Toyota. There's this Highlander. Oh, all of a sudden, the next thing out of the mouth of the salesperson is, yeah, those are absolutely the amazing vehicles. Hard to come by though. We can't keep them on the lot, or there are not too many around because they're very highly sought after. So they start setting the stage so that once you rebut and you say, look, and you get to the point where you're actually negotiating, that you have no negotiations because they've already set the stage by saying that vehicle's rare, special, exciting, interesting, and very desirable. In most cases, you're just looking at another vehicle. They probably made 5 million of those, through the course of its production run. But yet that dealer person will often say, wow, that's a great choice. I was thinking of buying one of those myself, or my brother-in-law just bought one and he loves it. There's all those millions of stories, how they just fib. They blow smoke up your butt just for the sake of trying to make a sale, but not just making a sale, but also prevent you from feeling like there's some space because it's hard to come by. They're rare. I had the same experience with a Toyota 4Runner recently, where I went into the Toyota dealer and I said how much of the older outgoing model, and he was blowing all kinds of smoke telling me you couldn't find them. We're charging over a sticker because they're rare and you can't see them anywhere. I had the same situation with a Honda Pilot. It was a Honda Pilot, for crying out loud. And as soon as I walked in there, I started sniffing around. I jumped in the showroom. I was looking around, trying some things. Salesperson came and gave me the same song and dance. Well, they're rare. There's none around. And that's why they're charging so much money for these vehicles. It's absolutely flabbergasting. And buyers can see through all of that noise and nonsense. People get annoyed by it. And so that's one of the biggest pet peeves people have, is these car dealers that are just not transparent. They're just fake, truly fake. And they're going to say whatever you need to hear to both leverage their negotiations and also try to push you into something that maybe you're just on the fence of anyway. The fourth thing that's very annoying by a lot of car buyers are dealers, and even more importantly, the salespeople. And it's usually followed up by a sales manager, because I've personally experienced that as well. But unfortunately for them, I've got the experience. I understand where they're coming from, and I know how to blast them out of the water. But it's those hounding phone calls, texts, emails, time and time and time again. See, one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people do is, hey, just give me your number. What's your email address? I won't bother you. We won't bother you with rhetoric and noise. We'll just get a hold of you. It's just for our records. If we need to come up with some special, we have something that I can offer you. But we don't bother people. We don't bother customers. Well, that's a lie, because time and time again, I've found that as soon as you share your phone number, your email address, you will be hounded. And quite often you'll be texted time and time and time again. And nobody wants to be bothered with that. It's noise. Sure, you can say, no, stop, don't bother me anymore. But a lot of people aren't as abrupt. I'm a little abrasive. I'm a little in your face, and I'm a little annoying on a good day. If I'm being honest, actually, that's what the wife says all the time. But nonetheless, not everybody knows how to push back. Not everybody tells them, hey, punch the brakes on that. Some people are just a little shy. Some people are a little put off, and they don't know how to tell people to get lost. But ultimately, by you're sharing some of your personal information, now you're putting your name out there. You're putting your name out to this whole registry of dealerships, because a lot of these dealerships, you look at, say, a Go Auto or a Yakima Group, and locally here, for example, some of these dealership networks have multitude of different dealerships. And it doesn't matter, it could be this dealer, that dealer brand, and any one of these dealership brands has a potential for getting your information. Once it's shared with one salesperson, there's a good possibility that they could share it amongst many. And a lot of these dealers, they just don't know how to say no. You say no to the salesperson, next thing the sales manager is calling you. And it's so annoying, so obnoxious, and again, for a lot of people, stressful, because you don't know how to make people disappear or go away. But a lot of people just are scared to say that, and that's one of the biggest pet peeves that a lot of people have is, having these hounding dealers, hounding salespeople, hounding sales managers, constantly bothering you about trying to pitch their car, trying to sell you on a car. Are you done yet? Are you ready to buy yet? What do you think? Hey, what if I give you this deal? Oh, by the way, we can do an evaluation on your trade-in too, and we'll give you top dollar. All those facts are usually a lot of noise just to get you into the dealership. So that's just a bunch of smoke and mirrors, but a lot of people just don't know how to say no, and it bothers them to the core. Another one of the major facts why people absolutely hate and despise car shopping and car dealers comes down to all of that negotiations on the back end, back and forth, playing games. My manager says this, he can do this, can you not give us an extra $1,000? And all of these games that go back and forth, the negotiations is a pain, and a lot of people absolutely feel stressed out about it. On top of it, there's the other aspect as you transition in to the finance office. That's the other part that a lot of people really can't stand, because now all of a sudden you have another person most often trying to sell you on paint protection film, key fob replacement, obviously scratch and dents, rim protection packages, undercoating, gap insurance. I mean, the list goes on and all the things they try to sell you on, extended warranties. But it's hard to say no, isn't it? Do you find that? I find that quite often hard to say no. You walk through the mall and there's somebody like trying to give you free samples of a little free perfume or some kind of spray or a little sample or a little widget. And they're like, hey, just try it. It's free, no problem. It's hard to say no, right? But that's where they catch you, hook, line, and sinker. Is they come in soft, but at the end of the day, a lot of people don't like that, and it stresses them out because they think that there's always something waiting, and 9 times out of 10, there's an agenda to try to grab an extra few bucks out of your pocket. So it's always stressful for people in the negotiations and then the finance office. When is it okay to say yes, and when is it okay to say no? Always know what your out the door price is. Be happy with that so you know all taxes in and what you're getting, but also say no to all the extras, because the extras mean you're going to pay more for all these extra add-ons, sticker, paint protection film, key fob action, and all the gap insurance. Gap insurance also, by the way, check with your local insurance company. Chances are you'll get a much better deal through them than you will at the car dealership. As always, if you want to follow a channel that's actually going to get nitty-gritty, get you the good, bad, and ugly news, as well as great advice for car buying, right down there, hit that subscribe button. You're not going to be sorry. It's absolutely great. I have content virtually every single day for you. Hope to see each and every one of you next time. Catch you real soon. Bye-bye.